Welcome to what will be the last part in the Grand Design series for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. We're picking up on the 22nd of March 2018. Now, this is going to be a slightly different video in the sense that I've got my curiosity up, and what I'm going to be doing is just letting the economy run, and then we're going to report on how fast it deteriorates, because it will deteriorate, because eventually, due to the complexity of the mechanics in this game, something will go wrong, and then that will knock on. And what I'm more interested in is to see how the resilience of the economy as a whole works, and what collapses relatively quickly, and what actually kind of stays functioning for as long as possible. I've got no idea what's going to happen. Everything could fall apart within 6 months, or it could go on a bit longer. So apologies that the format of this video is going to be different from normal. Like, I'm going to do the introduction, then I'll come back if things are going well with kind of regular reports. And of course, when things start to go wrong, then I want to see what went wrong and where the weaknesses actually are. Now, to get in the spirit of full disclosure, I have done some prep work for this, in a sense that what I've done is kind of done some checking with respect to the building's entire map, just to see if there's anything obviously kind of not working properly. Obviously, there's a water station that it's only at 50%, so it's probably just taken a little while to repair. The same with the vehicles. What I've done is I went through and looked for mainly bus routes, which where there might be a bus that's very close to kind of falling apart, because that's the type of thing that's just annoying. But you can see what's actually happened is I've got a load of tower cranes which are associated with my helicopters. Now, these can be repaired, but they can't be automatically scrapped. But I've just left them in there just to show you. The trains, I think we've got the metros should last, the whatever it is. There's one ship which I seem to have lost, and I can't see it. I think it's broke. It's kind of crashed off the map, and there's nothing I can do about that. Helicopters are coming. There's a few helicopters, but what I've actually done is a kind of precaution, is I've gone through all these. If I flip through the pages, and I've given a replacement that can be purchased. The trams I'm not too worried about, because I've got lots of spare trams. I've got 7 in depot, so that shouldn't be a problem. The ships, they can be auto replaced if they bomb, and also the Boeing. Probably these percentages are kind of there, and of course the helicopters as well is all set up. So in theory, things should auto replace. Now, the other thing I want to show you, and this is a little bit of an experiment which I will be keeping an eye on, because we are now playing on the early start DLC, and as part of the update that was accompanied that DLC, there is this feature now, if I actually show you here, where if you don't check this box here and you set up a queue, what happens is, if we just follow this through, what will happen is the queue will rotate. So what I've done is a kind of educated guess, just to show, just to see if I can get a supply of replacements. The problem I've got is the fact that there's a possibility that I might actually do it. So you can see now, see where the queue is rotated round. So basically these 3 terminals here will keep going, and I've kind of chosen the ones that probably need the most kind of repair. But the problem is I will be filling up this, and then these trucks won't have anywhere to go. In fact, they're probably already filling up. I haven't done it with the rail line trains, so that is going there. Hopefully it's going to work. I would like to take a deeper dive into this. I mean, I could move over a couple of these to make a bit more space. I know it's a kind of intervention, but you know, because I still really need to get my head around how you can distribute vessels without actually doing you know, vehicles. It's an area of the game which I still need to do. The other thing I've done is I've kind of done a bit of a general health check with Let me just see. It's here. I went round across the map looking for any waste hotspots just to make sure that we didn't get contamination. Not that it's going to crush the economy. So I've done some kind of scope up there. We got some kind of looks like there's a trash bin filling up here, but that's only because it's a small one. It doesn't have access to a large one there. And just as an example, what I've been doing is things like that. I don't know if it will make a difference, but no. Oh, yes, it will. But that's the type of thing I've been doing. The other thing, which is totally different, is up here, because I've got a problem with over 21s, and I'm absolutely convinced that high levels of over 21s are the reason for my crime wave. So what I've done here is just get rid of the overlay. What I've done here is created a kind of gulag for over 21s, and it's kind of buildings with minimum quality flats. It's only 68% quality. They've got basic life, so you can see that the sewage and water is delivered using trucks. They've got no heating, although these buildings are self-heating, but they get pollution. And the idea here is that the surplus over 21s get into here and they don't stay very long. So if I show you here, we're getting a lot of escapees. Plus the fact is that we're with the combination of deaths, that is actually kind of getting close to births, but we still got this. So the idea is to try and stop too many over 21s growing, because if I need to do a prediction over what's going to happen, if I put the overlay back on again, and we find, because the real curse I've got now is crime. It's growing right across the map, and it's getting quite high in some areas, and that is actually starting to affect happiness. And again, I've never really solved the crime problem over here. This seems to be a late game curse, and I'm almost certain that it's down to excess over 21s who turn to crime because they've got nothing else to do. And you've got to remember is in the last couple of parts, I've had 4,000 or 5,000 over 21s. And if you look in here, this city here, this is going to be the most vulnerable city, is I've got 11% crime rate, 10%, 11%. And this is now starting to affect the overall happiness. You can see the happiness in this area is already down to 50%. I built another police station over here. So I've now got 3 police stations working in this area, and I've also got another police station over here somewhere as well. So I've got plenty of police stations, but they just can't deal with the crime. But the court system is dealing with it. So the court system's staying on top of it, but it's just the crime rate has got away, and it's now affecting happiness. And of course, when happiness falls, productivity falls. So that is a possible implication of here. You can see we got happiness down as low as 48% here. So if I'm going to make a prediction over what's actually going to bring this economy starting to fall down, it's either going to be crime, or on the practical level, it's going to be here. Eventually, a train's going to get stuck here. That's going to block everything off, and that's when it's all going to fall apart. But as I say, I'm not going to interfere. And probably in contrast as well, if I flip back to the crime rate, these smaller towns seem to be a lot more able to deal with the crime rate. Most of the really serious crime I've got is in these big mega type cities. You can see here the crime rate here is 6-7%, and I can't seem to be able to shift it. You can see again it's building up in this area. So what I'm going to do now is just cut the video, let the game run, because I've got no idea how long the game's going to run before something goes wrong. I say it could be 10 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours in actual real life, because of course it takes a couple of hours to get through 5 or 6 months. So I'm just going to let the game run, and what I'll do is if it goes for say 3-4 months without anything happening, I'll come back and report that. If once things start to fall apart, which I could be able to spot by the falling population and the falling happiness, I'll come back, because it's going to be very important from my personal point of view to document what went wrong, so that in the future I'll be a lot more aware about what that sensitivity actually is. So I'll see you once I've got something to actually report. Okay, welcome back. We've now had our first major incident, and it is possibly could be terminal. What's actually happened, if I kind of show you here, is that we've now got food shortages running into this area here. We've also got a problem with a power supply, and I think the main problem is down to the fact that what's actually happening now is that the degenerating happiness here is hitting productivity. That is now starting to affect our nuclear power station, which is giving us sporadic power cuts. If I kind of show you here, it should flash. And more important, now the reason for that is the crime rate, but another reason for it is the fact that over here, I actually missed the event. I just saw it actually kind of clearing away because I wasn't really paying attention. In fact, I was away talking to my wife, because obviously watching this run is a bit boring if you're not going to interact with it. I had a bit of a backlog here which disrupted the food supply to here. If I come into here, where is it? The food supply here. I mean, the food supply is recovering, but what's happened is that we've now got kind of 24 people without meat. We've got drinking water's had problems because the power supplies, I mean, it is recovering. We've got 108 people without food in that block. And of course, part of the problem that's not helping is the fact that because the overall happiness here is falling, you can see it's now down to 42%, 36%. This is now starting to really seriously affect the productivity of this area. And what that means is that because we had that disruption, we had a disruption with the power station up here. And we got the power back now, but it was a near miss is probably the polite way of saying it. So I think this is this city, in conjunction with the crime and over there, this is where the break point's going to be, unfortunately. And when this does break, that will start to take our economy down. Although strangely, our population has grown, but we can see our happiness is starting to break. Now, another thing I was kind of looking at, which is something that confused me. If I come down into my waste processing down here, and now I've got no intervention for this, but what seems to be happening is that we are getting aluminium scrap coming in here. And what the game seems to have decided to do is dump it over here. All I can think of is that this must have been empty, and this thing here, which picks up the surplus, has decided to move the aluminium scrap over here because and treating it as a kind of pseudo mixed waste. So that is quite interesting, but those are the main things I've got to report. The only other thing I would say is that my little gulag thingy up here is not really working that well. I mean, it's losing some population, and you can see here that our escapes and deaths now are exceeding there, so we will have a falling population. So things could get a bit critical going into the winter, but we had a fairly good run so far, considering we're in October and the 11th of November, and things are still holding up. But this is an example where small problems can eventually take out your overall economy. I mean, this is holding up again. I'm assuming that glitch was just caused by the food shortage. And I think the system is responding well with bringing in the replacement food. You can see it got in there So hopefully it might still recover. I mean, obviously it's got a little bit of work because you see we've got 29% in here now. I mean, that means that the average productivity is going through the basement. In fact, we can find someone in here. So you've got someone here with 6%. That means that their average productivity is 30%. So it's this city is the Achilles heel. And I do think it is these big tower blocks. I mean, they're a real pain in the neck. But at the moment we are feeding the population, so it may recover. Anyway, that's the end of this first report. Hopefully you found it interesting. What I will do is continue to monitor and see how things break. And what I'll do is I'll continue to monitor to see if this actually recovers or whether it continues to degenerate. I think the key factor is going to be if we can maintain the power supply. But I'm not going to tinker with any of the settings. The game's just going to have to sort it out for itself. So I'll see you in the next report. Welcome back. We are now on the 23rd of February 2019, which means we are rapidly coming up to a year with the game running by itself. And generally things are holding up, especially across the wider map. The problem is all in this city here. And I'm pretty sure it's down to the crime rate. If I put the crime overlay on, just to give you an update, I'm aware that you can't see it, but you can see that right across this city now, the crime rate is 10-12%. Now, if you compare it, if I go over to Ollerton here, the crime rate is 3-4%. And even down here, it's 3-4%. And even if I go up to the original problem area, you can see the crime rate here is 3-4%. So the crime rate's under control, but I mean, if I was playing, I could probably do something about this, but the game's not making any headway against this at all, because what I'd have to do is put down even more courthouses. I mean, I've got a lot of courthouses here at the moment, but I'd have to put down even more. And what this is actually having an impact on, if I now change the overlay to happiness, you see that the happiness is down 42%, 33%, 37%, 32%. So the happiness is quite literally spiraling down, almost out of control. And of course, that's having an effect on productivity. And if let's see if we can go into a dark phase, and that is probably the most graphic way of doing it. So if we just sit here while I talk, so the happiness is falling, and if I show you the over 21s, you can see we've now kind of losing over 21s, and we'll wait for the it probably won't do it, but what you should see is some power fluctuations. Thank you, game. It probably won't do it because I'm trying to demonstrate it, but it normally happens every day-night cycle. Although it was more prominent during the actual winter. No, it's not going to do it. But what I've been seeing, especially at night, is power fluctuations. The reason for that is that, well, we've obviously got lower productivity up here. Also, we're getting periods where there's not enough workers up here, which actually then causes the power fluctuation. That is also reciprocated with respect to heating. So during the winter, we had a couple of periods where the heating actually dropped in this area as well. So if anything is going to break this economy, it's going to be here because so much depends on it. But beyond that, everything else went reasonably well. It's just that, and it's a bit of a shame, really. I mean, I'm convinced it's these large buildings. In fact, if we kind of click on here now, what you'll see is because the productivity is falling now, we're getting more and more shoppers who can't get access to food, and it kind of goes in cycles, and this is all part of the general decay. You can see it's getting worse and worse now, and when you consider that we've got 1, 2, 3 stores here supplying this area, I don't know what it's like in this store here. These stores are okay, I think. So it's going to be this area that's going to break down. I'm almost certain of it now. Yeah, this is almost constant now, which means if we click on here, you'll see there's an increasing number. You've got 20 citizens who can't have food. Some can't get meat because they can't get access to the stores. And that's actually generally dragging down the happiness. You can see it's literally, you've got 27% here now, and that's 35%. It'd be, is it this one? 42%. I'm sure I saw 27% in here. Where is it? Yes, we've got 27% in here. Well, it says the average is 31, but it's just picked up again because, of course, it's kind of fluctuates up and down. But you can see here that we've got, what we got in here is 28 citizens without food. The happiness is dropping. I can imagine what the productivity in here is. Average productivity 30%. So these aren't really contributing enough. So this is all part of the general decay. If I go back up to our little gulag, I think you'll probably find that the happiness in the gulag is better. Yeah, my gulag, where I'm treating these with great disrespect, they're actually kind of happier than what's in that main city. As I said, to give you a quick tour over, the rest of the economy is holding up, and there's general happiness. At the moment, I'm not seeing any major breaks in industries and supplies, except for around the area of that town that we're talking about. The rest of it seems to be going quite well. If I show you the overlay map, wear and tear, I've got a bit of anomaly with wear and tear with pergolas. I've got an idea what's actually causing that. So if we go and find the pergola, where are you? I think the problem is that when you've got pergolas like this, the game has a bit of a problem finding it because there's like no connection between these two pergolas. So there's like a bridge here, and it's probably also affecting this area 51%. I mean, probably the way to do it, if you were going to fix it with a bit of a botch, you would, can't do it here. I don't know if I can do it here. Where's the nearest road or something like that? Probably this is finding one. What you'd have to do is make a connection. I don't know, can I get under here? Nope. I can't fix it anyway if I wanted to. So eventually what's going to happen is these pergolas are going to crash, and what that will do is then isolate this, and there'll be no workforce coming into here. So eventually that will go. So bit of a tip there, if you use pergolas, be aware that you may need to come in here. You probably find all these at 51% because they can't be repaired. Yeah, if you probably come to this one at the end, you see it's 3% because the repair crews can get to it. So one of the downsides of this trick is the fact that the work crews can't get past the overlapping pergolas. The other thing also, if we go to here, which I've been monitoring as well, is that obviously because a portion of the workers are coming from our problem city, what you'll see is that the coal production is dropping now. Even at peak periods in the past, this would have been virtually full, except for when trains came in. But you can see now that the fall in productivity is having an effect on this area. So this is where I'm going to predict that it breaks. Strangely enough, the one area that I thought would actually sink the overall economy, they might be proving me wrong, is this area here. I mean, it does build up from time to time, but the game does seem to be able to untangle itself. And as I say, when I was kind of checking intermittently, there was a few scares in this area, but at the moment the game is still holding it together in this area. Just to give you an overview of the report, despite the fact that I'm producing ambulances and all sorts of stuff, I'm still getting the odd vehicle. I think this is down to the fact that these vehicles are probably near custom sheds or something like that. As I say, we got quite a big supply of vehicles here being churned out. I think it's now got to the point where we produce so many vehicles, they're all blocked up all over the place now. So we got there and they've got nowhere to go. As I've mentioned previously in this video, I really do need to work on some way of being able to distribute vehicles more adequately. this area here, which is another area which I thought might be a bit of a problem, you can see it's got the actual happiness is dropping, but I do wonder whether that's down to the fact that this is totally dependent on our power station for power. I mean, we've got a small power source over here, but this city is starting to break down slightly as well. You can see the happiness is down to 60%. I don't think it's down to food problems. We've got plenty of food and stuff like that. And again, if I come over to here, the food has dropped a little bit. The alcohol's good. Electronics is getting a bit low, so maybe there's a slow attrition with respect to electronics coming in as well. Again, I've got a feeling it's going to be our problem city, because again, one of our main sources of electronics is here. We obviously got a shortage of electro components building up now. We've got absolutely no idea where the electro components would be coming from. Let me just check the central store. So it looks like we've got a slow attrition with respect to electro components. That's alcohol. Well, we got some there. I think it's more of could be a delivery problem. I mean, generally up this end of the map, things do seem to be kind of holding up. As far as I know, there's no problems here. It looks like we might have a smidge of a problem to do with plastics now. No, I mean, the happiness is good, so the productivity could be good. I don't know whether we've actually got, well, we got a shortage of oil, but we got the oil tanker should be in at the moment. No, the oil tanker's not here. That's what's causing that. The oil tanker's gone off, so really what I probably should have had is 2 oil tankers. But so far, I must admit, I am impressed the fact that we've managed to get through a year with the game running by itself without a major catastrophe. What we just got is this slow attrition. Cut the video here, and I'll be back with another report when something happens. Okay, welcome back. We are now on the 8th of July 2019, and things seem to be running stable but at a very low level. And quite strangely, the happiness has actually improved on this side of the city, but it's still pretty diabolical here. We've still got the queues knocking into here, but they don't seem to be knocking in quite so much as they were. And the happiness has actually improved a couple of percent, and it's still improving. I think that's got more to do with the fact that we're in the summer, so we don't have the influences of the cold and heating and all that running. And if you see, if I just let it run through the night, we are keeping a fairly stable power supply as well, which is quite surprising. Of course, crime is still totally rampant. If I show you here, I don't think they're short of building probably another 3 police stations in this area. I can't see ever getting on top of that. But at the same time, over here, the rest of the map, I've kind of spun round all the rest of the map, and there don't seem to be any other problem areas, even in Logistica over here, which is normally a little bit of a problem hotspot. If I can find Logistica, where is it? It's over here. I mean, it's got a few places where the loyalty is a little bit low. I think there's a bit of a delivery problem in this area, which causes the occasional shortages. But I think beyond that, it's okay. I have to admit, I'm completely amazed that this area's held up. But I think it's also probably partly down to the fact that I'm not building anything. So the only trains coming through here are the ones actually supplying the requirements for the day-to-day life, rather than trying to keep everything fully supplied here. So I think that's made a difference towards the stability, and it's probably a key lesson learned that if you're going to build a centralized system like this, you need to put it somewhere where it's got its own rail access, and so that's quite interesting. I think beyond that, there's not that much going. I don't know how. We've even built back up the over 21s again. I think this is down to the fact that we're in the summer, so things are going along and people are a little bit more happy. You can see the the population profile there, where it fell down early and then it spiked back up. In fact, if we probably go back, I go back monthly, I go back to March, and then we look at the population, you can see it's kind of been slowly growing back up over time. Happiness has been improving, food has been bobbing along on the bottom, health has improved, but again, because that's the effect of winter. Now, one area of concern is loyalty is decreasing, but it's only decreased by 1%, so it's still pretty good. Alcohol consumption, everything else is on the edge there. Escapees and there. So at the moment, we're still got more births than the combination of death and escapees. So it looks like the over 21s are going to start increasing, which we might need actually when the winter comes in. The only other thing I want to check, because I don't want this report to be too long, is my waste disposal. We're getting a little bit of a build up here, but then they're just having quite a big delivery here. I think the ash is under control as well, but then I am dumping off the ash here by train to my ship, if you watched previous videos. I don't think I've got any backups in this area, though we do seem to have a lot of... Oh no, this is the export to here, isn't it? We don't have a problem with hazardous waste, seems to be under control. I come down, just check this corner because I'm interested in the whether we've got any more aluminium scrap coming in here. I've got absolutely no idea where this it's crept up a little bit. The only thing I can think of is that we're getting a little bit of aluminium scrap in the mixed waste from the actual scrapping facility, but you can see this is going along quite nicely. See here, yep. And I suppose the other thing I should check, because we are coming into winter and the harvest, is just let me take a quick look at the fertility. Where's fertility? 167. Considering we're going into the harvest, that fertility is pretty good. Let's have a look at our compost plant. Yep. And just to give you an idea of what's going on with the economy, we're making a very good, because the economy is rising. At the moment, we are exporting. If we go back to last month, it's probably better. You can see we are exporting hazardous waste and mixed waste at the moment. That's the contingency that's kicking in. So there must have been a spike in hazardous waste last month. We are exporting bitumen. The nuclear fuel seems to be a little bit missing. Oh, yeah, we delivered 1.4 tons here. Import wise, let's see, last month, we are still importing very tiny amounts of aluminium, alcohol, mechanical components. I've got absolutely no idea where this alcohol is coming from. It's probably some truck still supplying a pub from the local one there. We've imported a little bit of electronics. The biggest import is still crops, and we've imported 10 tons of electro components. Not exactly sure where that's coming from. The oil is coming up from there. Just check. That's full. That's good. That's coming. That's full. This has still got quite a lot of clothes here. Also, our little over 21 gulag is probably still chugging along, killing off some of those. The one area I haven't looked at, actually, come to think of it, for a very long time is here. Yeah, it's got reasonable, what we call it. Actually, are we exporting any liquid fertilizer? That's an interesting question. A little bit. That would be coming from here. I must admit, this is one area where I got a little bit of concern with it, because this will be gradually wearing out, because I don't think I've got construction office support here. So eventually this might collapse if this goes on, because I'll be completely upfront. I never really expected this to run as long as it is, because this has now been running 18 months by itself. But the main reason I wanted to do this report was down to the fact that we're going into winter, and winter might be a slightly different matter. Yeah, I'm quite happy with what's going on. I think it's working. As I say, we don't seem to have any problems with hazardous waste. The money's growing. The population is relatively stable at 162,000, which is quite a surprise, to be honest. So what I'm going to do now is just cut the video now, and I'll be back in for the next report, probably at the start of 2020, if assuming that nothing chaotic happens. But I'm going to take a bit of a chance now because I'm actually going to go shopping with my wife for about an hour. So I may come back and it may be a great big pile of junk, but that's the risk I've got to take in order to make this video. And welcome back. We are now picking up on the 8th of April 2020, which means this game has been free running now for just over 2 years, and generally things are holding up. But you can see there is a gradual attrition with respect to the average of happiness. And it's all mainly down to this area here, because I've gone round and checked the other cities. The other cities are holding up. But quite strangely, if I haven't kept a very detailed record, but at the moment the happiness seems to cycle round the buildings and then kind of picks up a bit and then disappears. And I think that's down to the fact that we're getting over 21s coming in. I don't know whether we've got over 21s in here. Got a few. These have got quite low crime rate. We've got somebody there with 18% crime. And I think what's kind of happening, which is slowly improving the situation, is that we are getting other ones coming into here. And these may have high crime rate. You've got someone there with 18% or 16% crime rate there. But I think what's actually happening is, I can find the police station here. I think that's that the police station. That's the courthouse. I mean, the number of outstanding court cases is slowly building up. Where's the police station? That's the secret police. That must be the. But you can see the over 21s with high crime rates that kind of leak into here are being picked up quite quickly, so it's defensive. The one area that seems to be persistently stuck in a crime wave is here, and I think I've mentioned this in the previous updates. The way to solve this would be to build more police stations, but that's not the object of this exercise. Now, despite the fact everything is holding up, there are some few cracks kind of starting to develop in the overall system. If I show you here and we go to entire map wear and tear, you'll see that we've now got a pub, a water switch at 56%, which I think I picked up in the last part, and I think I know the reason for it. It's in the vehicle production area, and it's actually linked to this footpath here, and for some reason the construction offices don't seem to be able to get to it. And the pub is actually up here in this town, and I think it's what the reason for it, and it is quite a relatively easy fix, or is because I worked on the assumption that the helicopter repair crews would get out here and fix this building. But if I show you here, if we go into here, it tells you that it needs concrete and asphalt, and of course the local construction office here is too far away from a source of concrete and asphalt. In fact, they'd have to go all the way down. I mean, I could fix it, but I don't think it's really worth it. And this is an example of the fact that when you're providing building maintenance, you've got to cover all the bases, because if we probably find if there's any other, you can see it's successfully replacing there. For some reason I've got an unfinished footpath here as well, but again that's probably down to the fact that there's no concrete or asphalt up here. Obviously I missed that as part of the building process, but it's not, again, it's not the object of the exercise. But again, this area is holding up quite well. What the first kind of key crack that's started to open is down here. If I show you here, you can see that we're not exporting vehicles. In fact, everything is chock-a-block, and the reason for that is I come in here and we go to ships and entire map, because it needs the entire map to find it. Oh, the ship's gone. No, it's not. Caught by wear and tear. The actual export ship is this one, and at the moment it's beyond the borders, so I can't sell it. Well, I could try and sell it, but it would cost me 129 million. But it was my only export ship, so I don't think that's going to actually be much use. I suppose I could sell it. I mean, I've got plenty of money. I have been losing a bit of money, but I kind of traced it. I'm just going to sell that, just out of curiosity. I mean, it won't make any difference to the problem, I don't think, because I think that was the only ship that was... Oh, it says all related vehicles. Okay, yeah, it's this line is now... What are you then? Yeah, see, we can't launch it. It's just stuck somewhere. But I can't find it because it's off the edge of the map. So that's the first kind of major break that's started to happen. I've got a couple of ordinary vehicles which are now starting to get in the suspect range. Got someone here at 81%, which is a bus, which is probably on a static route down in this area. So it's only going to be a matter of time before this breaks down. Of course, they always break down in the bus station, and then what will happen is it will then start to block what's going on, and of course that will mean we'll get less workers coming into this area. So there's a few chinks in the armor starting to happen, but you see virtually all the messages. Oh no, yeah, all the kind of complaints in the game. We've got 223 pages of it. I mean, we've been able to fight the fires, but virtually all the messages, if I clear them and I let them run in, they all seem to relate to this area. And as I say, the population, it looks like the population is rebuilding a little bit now. The happiness is still falling, and I'm aware that you can't read this. The biggest one is 74,000 people who are now suffering from crime, and the next biggest is, well, some people unable to pray for church, and then it's 5,250 who are unable to sport. So it is the crime that's dragging down the economy. And as I said, the main reason I lost the money was up here, because I had this chemical ship which I'd forgotten all about, importing chemicals here, and for some reason he's got alcohol. He's got 749 tons of alcohol on board as well. I've got absolutely no idea where that came from, but if you see here, the current value of the cargo is, well, 1,000 million, so it's 1.4 billion. And that explains. I assume that since the last report, this has gone out and picked up another load, and somehow they've gained 741 alcohol. I mean, that might have been there for some time, and also it looks like we've just got another oil ship. The oil ship's just returning, which probably means that we've been running low on oil up here again. Yeah, we are getting through a lot of oil at the moment, which is affecting this area a little bit, but I think it's still kind of going full bore. Beyond that, everything still seems to be suspiciously working well, which is a little bit of a cause of concern, because I was, well, expecting this to collapse relatively quickly, because I'm now, I mean, in actual real time, the game's been playing by itself now for about 5 hours. And to be honest, I've only assigned today to do this video. And so there's a possibility that I may have to let it run longer. I think that's going to be enough for this report, because I don't really have much to tell you. Yeah, except for the fact that I just want to go down and do a check, because I'm still a little bit confused over where this aluminium scrap's coming from. So, well, it's not increasing that big. So what I'm going to do is leave it again, let the game run. What I might do is I've got a couple of things to do in the garden. So what I might do is go away for 2 or 3 hours and just let the game run and then see what actually happens. So until the next report, enjoy your gaming. Oh, no, we got an earthquake. Okay, this... I'm not... I mean, this, as far as I know, is the first earthquake. So this could be significant, depending on the damage that's actually done. I mean, I could have had other earthquakes which the game has recovered from. Where are we? Of course, it had to be in the area where we got the biggest problems. Although we also got the strongest fire coverage. So, yeah. We'll see if we can get the earthquake report. It says low worker productivity due to reconstruction. So, obviously, when are you going to get an earthquake report? The game isn't 100% reliable when it comes to earthquake reports. If something happens, like probably like a game save, the report doesn't seem to come through. But we seem to have got away with it. So what I'm going to do now is let the game run for several hours, possibly for a whole 2 years, and just see if anything will break. But the next report will probably be the last report, because I'm quite literally running out of time. So until the next report, enjoy your gaming. Welcome to what will be the last report in this video, simply because the end has now started. You can see we're on the 14th of April 2021. The economy is now definitely starting to decline, and it is now on that very slippery slope which will eventually turn into a cascade error. And you can see how the average happiness now is down to 66%. Health is deteriorating. The population is falling. If I show it to you, you come in here. Although we'll probably need to go back. I go back several months. What you'll see is that the population has these kind of occasional spikes where it recovers temporarily, but then it drops down. You can see that. So in fact, if I go back a year, you can now see it even more dramatically. We've dropped from 162,000 to 156,000. We've got no over 21s anymore, so that's all being sucked up. And you can see here that the happiness in this town here has tanked completely. It's down to 32% across the board, 28%. In fact, I don't know if we can get an average happiness. Yeah, you can see the average happiness for the whole area now is 38%. And the reason for that is basically the crime. But what's happening now is because the productivity's already gone through. I don't know if this will actually show us the average. Yeah, you can see the average productivity in this city now is 48%. And that means that we're not even being able to feed our populations. So you can see there's all sorts of problems developing. And if I show you here now that despite the fact there being ample food, this area here, they're just not getting fed. So we are now in a terminal decline. There's all sorts of other problems, but I'll be completely upfront. The reason for it has come from a totally unexpected direction, and it actually starts here with the mech production. And if you actually see it here, we are producing some mechanical components, but because of the low reduced productivity, it's not enough. And you can see we've got a train coming in here trying to grab some mechanical components. But what's actually happened now, I'll start at the top of the map, is that we're not getting the mech components in here, so we're not actually producing electronics. And that's exactly the same down here. Whoops, thank you, game. So if I come down to here, and I'll show you here. Oh no, these must have got a delivery of mech components. Yeah, but you can see this one's out of electromechanical components, plastics, and mech components now. So what we've got is actually a shortfall of electronics. So if I come to my central distribution here, you'll see that we've got it's alcohol. You can see we've got absolutely no electronics in here now. So what's happening is that because there's no electronics, and it's been spreading for some time, I let it run for a little while. There are some areas which have still got some electronics, which is still running out, but some of the more important areas like Stilton, I think they are now out of electronics. Yep. I think Ollerton is now out of electronics as well. Yep. So what's happening is that the contagion's now spreading across the whole map, and what it's doing is dragging down the overall happiness. So there's now problems developing. Looks like we still got some support in this area, and of course to compound it, you'll see lots of these things turning up now. I'm getting broken down vehicles now appearing in here. So if you come into here, yeah, well, probably the easiest way to show it to you is we come into, well, if I show you the buildings, because again there's a problem developing with buildings, because the types of things which are not being repaired are down to the fact that we need mech components. So like we got a farm now, we got the pub, a water, school, and you can also see in here that we're also getting power fluctuations now, because the productivity of our nuclear power plant is actually starting to fall. So, well, if I choose one at random, you probably see it says here, missing resource, steel, mechanical components. So all the areas that need mechanical components are now increasingly not being repaired. And then if I show you the wear and tear here, you'll see that I've got a trolley bus that's got itself lost. We've got a bus at 100% and all that. And the area that's the most prone to broken vehicles is over here. And we are slowly sliding towards a bit of a problem here, because you can see we've now got a broken down vehicle here. This is at 100%. And I think they are kind of getting removed, but they are not being replaced. And an example of, they're not actually functioning. So what we've got now is, no, it's not here, there, it's out here, that we've got no workforce in this area now. So all this is effectively shut down because the bus has gone lost, and it's actually broken down somewhere. I can't find it. And of course that's now starting to have an impact on our steel as well. And of course the declining productivity is also now having an effect on this area. If I come here, you can see that this is now virtually out of coal. So we've got increasing numbers of things which are broken down. You can see why have we got a power problem here now in this area? Yeah, you see again the power is also affecting the trains, because of course the main power source now is here. Where is it? Our power station. And because the happiness is falling and the productivity is falling, we do have periods where we got full work, but you can see at the same time is eventually that will drop off, and that causes problems. So we are now in a terminal decline. I mean, it's obviously not going to crash in the next 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but all you're going to be doing now is just managing that decline down. So this is why I've decided to do the final report here, because it's this city that's basically tearing down the overall economy. You can see we've now got happiness down at 20%, and that means that we've got we go and choose some of these people at random. These people have got a average productivity of about 40%, and this is what's actually killing us now. Okay, so it looks like we've now getting falling happiness over here. Yeah, this is down to 53%. You can see now that the contagion is spreading quite substantially now. If I pause, you can see it says workers unable to participate in sport. I mean, the rest of the area is fairly good, but you can see it is starting to knock through, getting food shortages. So there's possibly, yeah, we're now getting the same contagion here, where we're not getting enough people in. Of course, what that will do is grow over time. This side's okay. So yeah, it took nearly, well, say be generous, so it took 2.5 everything held together for about 2.5 years, but now we're now in the last 6 months of gameplay, things. So we got to 3 years, but which is pretty good actually. It's a lot better than I thought I could. But you can see here, even Stilton now is the happiness is collapsing. This is the thing about losing your electronics. Once you've lose the electronics, especially when you've got an economy in this period here. So yeah, no electronics. So it was the crime that's which we were able to manage over a short period of time, and that is worked okay. But I mean, I could have recovered it if I'd been playing, but it was the crime that eroded the happiness and productivity, which then had an effect on the mechanical components, electronics. And strangely enough, the one area where I thought I was going to have a problem, it never materialized. Let's have a look. We're getting lots of traffic jams now. Yeah, we've now got a broken down bus in here, which means that this is now blocking. Also, I've got a traffic jam up here, I think, if I can find it. Where is it? Yeah, I've got a traffic jam here. Now this is actually down to this thing here, which is I think what we can do is just tidy that up. Not that it makes that much difference. It's not going to save us. For some reason that waste truck just got stuck in there for no apparent reason. And it was just blocked one slot, so effectively these were delivering to one slot. So the moral of this story, or the lesson to take away from this, is that you need a cargo drop off. So yeah, but yeah, it's well and truly over now. Looks like we're getting the happiness here is still holding up, because of course this is self-contained to a certain degree, because we've got the food coming in from over here, and I think here we still got quite a nice surplus of food, and everybody's still happy within reason, except for of course our gulag over there. So I would predict probably that what will happen is this area will hold up. Possibly this area here might hold up over a period of time while the core of the economy kind of slowly rots away. To be honest, I don't really have the time to wait for that to happen. What I might do sometime over the next week, if I find time to keep this running, is I might play it to a conclusion just to show you what survives, and then that would be an addendum to the current series. But I think this is where I'm going to leave it. If I just go back to here where all the trouble started, so we might as well finish it. So this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting. Any comments, feedback, feel free to chuck it in the video description. But until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.